Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. Could it actually be happening? Are we actually going to get a play from Apple on AI? The Cupertino giant appears to have made a call and will partner with Google on their next AI offering. Bloomberg's Apple insider Mark Gurman reports that the project will be an AI-powered search engine known internally as World Knowledge Answers. Sources said that the feature will be integrated into Siri and that Apple are also considering building it into Safari and their home screen search widget Spotlight. The feature is expected to be ready by the spring as part of a long overdue Siri overhaul. Sources said that the idea is to replicate the performance of Google's AI overviews or Perplexity. The underlying technology enabling the new Siri could come in part from Google, Apple's longtime partner in internet search. The companies reached a formal agreement this week for Apple to evaluate and test a Google-developed AI model to help power the voice assistant. The reporting also spoke to a much broader Siri revision that's in the works. The new Siri is intended to be able to tap into personal data and on-screen content to better fulfill queries. This was, of course, the original idea of so-called Apple Intelligence, to have the context of your personal experience expressed through mobile that would make AI better for you. Now, of course, none of that vision has come to fruition, but the vision was something that many people were interested in, theoretically at least. The reporting also suggests that Siri will become a computer use agent, able to navigate an Apple device according to voice instructions. Craig Federighi, Apple's head of software engineering and the executive in charge of the Siri project, said at a recent all-hands, "The work we've done on this end-to-end revamp of Siri has given us the results we've needed. This has put us in a position to not just deliver what we announced, but to deliver a much bigger upgrade than we envisioned." The project has drawn in talent from multiple teams, including the AI division and the Apple Services unit helmed by executive Eddie Q. You might recognize that name as the person who has reportedly been pushing for acquisitions as a path for Apple to get back in the AI competition, although he has not been successful in convincing his colleagues around that. Siri's new architecture is reportedly split into 3 components: a planner, a search system, and a summarizer to put it all together into an output. Sources said that Apple is leaning towards using a custom-built version of Google's Gemini model as the summarizer. It would need to be modified to run on Apple's proprietary hardware, and the two companies are now collaborating on fine-tuning and testing. Apple is also considering using Gemini for the planner, although Anthropic's Claude and Apple's own in-house models are still being considered as well. The reporting also said that Gemini hasn't been ruled out to drive the search system. In other words, in 6 months' time, we could have a version of Siri built entirely on Google's tech. Reportedly, Anthropic's Claude actually outperformed Google in the Siri bake-off, but Anthropic demanded too much money for the use of their model. Sources said that they asked for more than $1.5 billion a year, while Google was up to much more favorable terms. Now, one unspoken part of the reporting that I think is pretty interesting is the fact that OpenAI is nowhere in these conversations, despite the fact that ChatGPT was the first third-party AI app that Apple started pushing on the iPhone in that presentation about a year ago. I don't know what happened with that relationship, whether the fallout is from a business or a technological perspective, but it is notable that OpenAI is nowhere to be seen here. Still, I think at this point for most people, just having Siri that actually works like anything, even close to how you would expect in 2025, will be a big win. Speaking of OpenAI, there has continued to be incredible demand for shares in that company. They have boosted their secondary share sale up to $10 billion, an increase from the $6 billion reported last month. Current and former employees who have held shares for more than 2 years will have until the end of the month to decide whether they'll access that liquidity. The round is expected to close in October. Now, the round is noteworthy because it's the first to test OpenAI at a $500 billion valuation. Their last fundraising was, of course, conducted at the start of the year at $300 billion. Since then, the company has doubled its revenue and basically everything else, including users, so some big markup sort of makes sense, although the numbers are eye-popping to some. Still, when push comes to shove, we continue to see the trend of demand for AI startup investments vastly outstripping supply, as the number of shares that the market wants to consume just seems to keep going up. Another update on the AI fundraising front: Mistral is set to finalize a €2 billion investment that would value the company at roughly $14 billion. The rumor from last month was that they were seeking $1 billion in fundraising at a $10 billion valuation, so quite a lot of additional funding and a meaningful bump in the valuation seems to have come through. This will be the first round of Mistral fundraising since June of last year, when they were valued at €5.8 billion. Now, not only does this mean their valuation has doubled, but more notably, it'll be the first time that they've had access to such a significant war chest. They've raised around €1 billion in total in the 2.5 years since they were founded, so this would be double that all in one fell swoop. It's still not super clear to me exactly where Mistral is going to fit in this ecosystem, but it's clear that there's a lot of folks who think that they have a place somewhere. Quick update on talent drama: xAI's CFO has left after just 3 months on the job. The Wall Street Journal reports that CFO Mike Liberatore left the company around the end of July after commencing in April. Liberatore oversaw xAI's debt and equity raise in June, which brought in $10 billion in fresh capital for the company. SpaceX contributed almost half of the equity raised, which suggested to some that demand from outside investors was comparatively sparse, at least relative to all these other rounds that we're seeing. Now, while it's dangerous to draw too many conclusions from a single departure, this is the latest in a recent trend. At the beginning of August, xAI's general counsel, Robert Keel, announced he was leaving after a little more than a year on the job. In his farewell post, he claimed he was leaving to spend more time with his 2 toddlers, something that any toddler parent will understand, but also noted that when it came to Elon Musk, quote, "There's daylight between our worldviews." Raghu Rao, a senior lawyer who dealt with commercial affairs at the company, left around the same time. And then on August 13th, co-founder Igor Babushkin announced that he was leaving to start his own venture firm. There was, of course, also ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino announcing her departure in July, a few months after the social media platform's merger with xAI. Occam's razor continues to be that people in high-impact jobs move around a lot more than people where the stakes are lower. But there's enough happening there that for anyone who's really interested in how much the competition between all these labs is going to increase the availability of cool products for all of us, let's just say it's worth paying at least a little bit of attention to. Lastly, a sort of messy one, Scale has sued rival data labeling startup Mercor, accusing the firm of corporate espionage. In a lawsuit filed on Wednesday, Scale claimed that their former head of engagement management, Eugene Ling, downloaded more than 100 customer strategy documents while in communication with Mercor. He's accused of meeting with Mercor CEO Brendan Foody to discuss business strategy and product while still in his role at Scale. The lawsuit claims that Ling was later hired in order to build a relationship with one of Scale's largest customers, and that the bulk of the documents relate to that customer. Ling is allegedly still assigned to this customer's account while working at Mercor. Surya Midha, a Mercor co-founder, responded to the lawsuit stating, "While Mercor has hired many people who departed Scale, we have no interest in any of Scale's trade secrets, and in fact are intentionally running our business in a different way. Eugene informed us that he had old documents in a personal Google Drive, which we have never accessed and are now investigating. We reached out to Scale 6 days ago offering to have Eugene destroy the files or reach a different resolution, and we are now awaiting their response." Now, of course, the situation is made even messier due to Meta's acquihire deal with Scale. It has been well reported that Scale lost multiple major clients in the wake of that deal, as rival AI labs didn't necessarily want to continue doing business with them after Meta became a major owner. Then, of course, there's the fact that earlier this week it was reported that Meta themselves had also moved away from using Scale's data labeling services, adding rival providers, including Mercor. So I guess maybe the takeaway that is if you are looking for signs that AI is slowing down when it comes to things like big company competition, talent wars, fundraising, or basically any other vector, the answer is most distinctly no. However, that's going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief Headlines edition. Next up, the main episode.